Did you know that 80% of Americans live in just the eastern half of the country? That's right, 8 out of every 10 people in the United States live east of this invisible line. But why? Why is half of America, 50% of the land, home to only 20% of the population? The answer lies in geography, history, and a line you've probably never heard of. Welcome to State Frame, and today, we're explaining the line that divides America. Let's start with the basics. The United States is a massive country, 3.8 million square miles. It spans from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, over 2,800 miles wide. But not all of that land is created equal. This is the 100th Meridian West. It's an imaginary line of longitude that runs from North Dakota through South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and down to Texas. It was first identified in the 1800s by the U.S. government during westward expansion. But it wasn't just any line, it was the line that determined where farmers could grow crops, and where they couldn't. East of the 100th meridian, there is enough rainfall to grow corn, wheat, and other crops naturally. But west of that line, the land is dry, too dry for traditional farming without irrigation. This is called the rain-shadow effect, caused by the Rocky Mountains. Here's how it works. Moist air from the Pacific Ocean travels eastward. But when it hits the Rocky Mountains, it's forced to rise. As the air rises, it cools, and the moisture condenses into rain and snow. That precipitation falls on the western side of the mountains, not the eastern side. By the time the air crosses over to the east, it's dry. This is why the 100th meridian marks the dividing line between humid east and arid west. And that division had a huge impact on where Americans decided to settle. In the early 1800s, the U.S. government passed the Homestead Act of 1862. This law gave 160 acres of free land to anyone willing to move west and farm it. Thousands of settlers rushed west, but many of them didn't know about the 100th meridian. They arrived expecting to find land like they had in the east, green, fertile, and full of water. Instead, they found dry, dusty, and unforgiving land. Many of them failed. They abandoned their claims and moved back east. But those who settled east of the 100th meridian thrived, because there was enough rain to grow crops year after year. And that's where the population divide really began. East of the line, towns grew into cities. West of the line, towns stayed small, or disappeared entirely. So the 100th meridian created a cultural divide too. Today, the line still shapes America. And the numbers tell the story. So let's look at the numbers. The United States has a population of approximately 340 million people. Of those 340 million, about 272 million live east of the 100th meridian. That's 80% of the entire U.S. population. And the other half of the country, the entire western half, has only about 68 million people. That's just 20% of the population living on 50% of the land. To put that in perspective, let's look at the most populated states. The top 10 most populated states are all east of the 100th meridian. California is the only exception, and even it's on the edge. New York has 19.5 million people. Florida has 22 million people. Texas has 30 million people. Those 3 states alone have more people than the entire western half. Now let's look at the western states. Montana has only 1.1 million people, despite being the 4th largest state. Wyoming has just 580,000 people. North Dakota has 780,000 people. South Dakota has 900,000 people. All of these states combined have fewer people than just the city of Houston. Houston alone has over 2.3 million people. So the 100th meridian isn't just a line on a map, it's a population wall. And the reasons go beyond just rainfall. Let's look at the other factors that kept people out of the West. First, let's talk about the weather. The western half of the U.S. is prone to severe droughts. The Dust Bowl of the 1930s hit the western plains hard. Thousands of families abandoned their farms and moved east. The Dust Bowl destroyed the idea that the West could be farmed without irrigation. But even today, the West faces water shortages. California, Arizona, and Nevada are in constant water wars. Second, let's talk about jobs. The eastern US has always had more industry and manufacturing. The West is more resource-based, mining, oil, agriculture. But those jobs don't support large populations. Today, the West has tech hubs like Silicon Valley and Seattle. But even they are concentrated in small coastal areas. The interior West remains sparsely populated. Third, let's talk about history. The US was settled from east to west. By the time settlers reached the 100th meridian, they were tired. They had crossed mountains, rivers, and prairies. When they hit the dry plains, many said enough. They stopped and built their homes right along the line. This created a pattern of population that still exists today. So the 100th meridian became a psychological barrier too. But here's the thing, the line is shifting. Climate change is causing the arid zone to move eastward. Scientists predict the 100th meridian will shift 180 miles east by 2050. That means some states that are now humid will become dry, and states that are already dry will become even drier. So the population divide may change in the coming decades. But for now, the 100th meridian is the line that divides America. And understanding it helps you understand why Americans live where they do. Let's compare this to other countries. In India, the population is spread across the entire country. In the US, half the country is almost empty. In Russia, 80% of the population lives west of the Ural Mountains. In China, 94% of the population lives east of the Heihe-Tengchong line. So the US is not unique, but it's one of the most extreme. Canada is even more extreme. 90% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the US border. But the US is special because we have the 100th meridian. It's a line that has shaped American history, economy, and culture. And it's still relevant today. So next time you look at a map of the US, look for the line. You'll see why 80% of Americans live east of it. And you'll understand the hidden geography of America. So let's recap what we learned today. First, the 100th meridian is a line of longitude that runs through the US. Second, it separates the humid east from the arid west. Third, 80% of Americans live east of this line. Fourth, the reasons are geography, history, weather, and economics. And fifth, the line is shifting due to climate change. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to StateFrame for more US geography explained. We release new videos every week. And comment below, do you live east or west of the line? I read every comment and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching StateFrame. See you in the next video. Until then, keep exploring. And remember, America is more than just a country. It's a story, and we're telling it one state at a time. Goodbye, and see you soon.